Controlling the Mind. This is another inspirational short story. I hope you enjoy it. It's a story about a rabbit by the name of Raj. Now his mother explained to him that his name meant leader or king. But it has to be said that Raj Rabbit felt neither of these. In fact, in his darkest moments, he felt his name was nothing but a mockery. For Raj Rabbit could never remember a time when he didn't feel a sense of dread, a sense of foreboding, as if something bad was going to happen at any minute. But more of that later. Now, he didn't have a very easy early life. When he was a very young rabbit, his father was killed, and no one told him how or why. And there was a general feeling of high anxiety in the colony where he lived. And again, nobody answered his questions, and he didn't know why. But one night, his mother woke him and told him and his brothers and sisters that they were going on an adventure, and they were going to find another, better place to live. There was a whole group of them that left that night. But the memories of the journey over the days, the weeks and the months were to haunt Raj for many months to come. And he tried to block out the horror of the deaths, of the hunger, of the searching for somewhere safe to be. Eventually, they found a warren that was in some sandy soil and next to some tall trees in a coppice. And they settled there. And the rabbits that were already there took a while to accept this straggly bunch, but eventually they did. But of Raj's family, only his sister survived. And although sometimes Raj felt safer and more secure than he'd ever felt when he was curled up next to his partner at night, deep down into the burrow, at night, those memories, those dark memories, would creep out from the darkness. And he would remember snatches. And he would toss and he would turn and he wouldn't sleep well. And the other thing that would happen is that he would hear a noise outside the burrow. And he would be convinced that there was a fox or some other danger. And so he would go up the burrow and sniff all around the trees in case there was a scent of fox or a real fox. And then he'd go back down the burrow and have to go up again to check. And these nightly rituals, sometimes, they would go on for some time. And of course it took a toll on his health and on his confidence. And during the day, something that he wanted to keep to himself and would not admit to anyone, those feelings of dread and foreboding would start off in his abdomen and get tighter and tighter, and they would reach a crescendo until, in order to ward them off, he would have to go round and touch every single tree. And then sometimes, because they were still there, he'd go round again and again until some sort of quietness of mind occurred and he could get on with his life. This went on for some time. But changes do happen, sometimes slowly and incrementally, sometimes quite fast. And so it was that one day, when this self-same feeling occurred, and Raj was frozen in the spell of fear and the only thing he could do was to go round and touch the trees. The second time round, in that split second before he touched the first tree, he heard or felt something. He wasn't sure, but it was like there was a message which said, "Trust yourself, all is well." Now, he dismissed that. Maybe it was the wind, he wasn't sure. But he carried on with life. Nighttime, the rituals were the same. And then, again, one time, when he felt the familiar feeling in his abdomen of tightness and the familiar spell of fear come over him, when all he could do was to go round and touch the trees, again, he heard or felt, "Trust yourself, all is well." And that feeling that was in his abdomen became like an energy that rose from his abdomen and made him shake and shake and shake all over. And he kept shaking until eventually he stopped. That evening, when the sky was red and orange just before the sun dipped down, and the noisy rooks were circling overhead, ready to roost in the tall trees, and the rabbits were nibbling on the grass below, Raj found himself next to an elderly rabbit, so elderly that his fur was grey, and he spoke in a slow and ponderous voice, and he said, "Raj, you have a big heart. You just need to listen to it." Well, Raj was a little bit taken aback. What do you mean?" he stuttered. "There are those who listen to the clamour of their minds. There are those who listen to their hearts. When their hearts speak, the mind is still." And with that, he hopped away, leaving Raj to ponder on this. Well, that night, Raj did his usual and went up the burrow to check for foxes, and as he put his head out of that particular burrow, he could tell that it was a very still, cold, frosty night. His whiskers twitched, and there was a bright moon that wrapped the trees round in silver, and above there was a million stars, and Raj paused to look at the beauty of it all before he began his usual sniffing for foxes, and then he heard it again, or felt it. "Trust yourself. All is well." And he turned, and he went back down the burrow and fell soundly asleep. That was then. Now, if you should happen across this particular warren, and as I said, it's in sandy soil next to a coppice, you might see a fine specimen of a rabbit by the name of Raj, and he is the leader of that warren. And if you were to ask one of the other rabbits, they would say that Raj was a very exceptional leader, because he told all the rabbits to trust their hearts and all would be well. And indeed, it was. I hope you liked that story. And if you did, please click the like button. Maybe leave me a comment, and if you haven't already subscribed, click the subscribe button. And should you wish to have a bit more information on how you can use stories, there's a link below. Click on that and I'll send you my free PDF, Tips on Using Stories. Thank you very much for listening.